The thoughts and opinions of the guests on the Lens Living Diverse are the ones of the guest and do not represent the CNIB, the CNIB advocacy team, or the creators of the Lens Living Diverse.
It's the lens, it's the lens, it's the lens, gotta live diverse. It's the lens, it's the lens, it's the lens to live diverse.
You are listening to the Lens Living Diverse, a podcast brought to you by the CNIB advocacy team. Join Nisha, Vivi, and I as we speak to individuals with intersecting identities who live with sight loss as they share their unique stories. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Lens Living Diverse. I am doing it solo today. I am your host, Ben, and today we have an amazing episode with a friend of mine, plus influencer on Instagram and social media, the one and only Anne Mok. And this is so incredible because I know recently, I have been exploring social media before I was like Instagram and all this, and someone who has really inspired me to storytell through social media is Anne. So it was amazing. I met Anne at a panel, and from there, I was like, I have to meet this individual. So, Anne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so great. Thank you so much, Ben, for having me on. I'm so excited to chat and share my story.
Of course, of course. And I'm so excited to have you on today as well. So, before we get into it, I just want to get the listeners to know more about you. So, if you could share a little bit about yourself and share your intersectionalities that you hold.
Okay, so my name is Anne Mok, and I am a content creator, advocate, speaker, and a recent author. And I'm proudly a blind Asian Canadian woman. And my journey has really been shaped by navigating my life as a child of immigrant parents and later in life losing my vision. Um, Growing up in Canada, I often felt caught between two worlds, just trying to fit into a society where I didn't look like everyone else, and while also feeling like I didn't quite belong in my own culture. So I really had struggled with losing my connection to my language and then being seen as too westernized within my own community. So I feel sort of in between.
Thank you so much for sharing, and I totally understand coming from parents who are immigrant parents and coming from a country of Ghana. So yeah, it's that in between, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And then when you're dealing with that culturally, then you're adding another layer of disability, vision loss onto it, where you feel even more lost. And it's really, I think the biggest help for me was finding community, finding people that I connected with internally, and that's helped me to navigate the world now.
Yeah, and that's such a great aspect to when we're looking at culture or disability to have that support and to see people who look like you. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on today. And if you could tell us more, you were saying you had immigrant parents from Asia, and then you were actually born in Asia as well. If you could tell us a little bit more about that process of when you immigrated in that experience of the westernized world.
Sure. So my mom is from Hong Kong and my dad's from Malaysia, and they met in Australia in school,
Oh, wow.
and they did well in their respective home countries and in their careers, but they left everything to come to Canada and rebuild from scratch. They wanted a better future for myself and my siblings. So I was 2 years old when I came. My brother is 3 years older than me, so he's was five. And then my younger sister was born here in Canada. And my parents were just looking to build a good life for us. So we settled in a really family oriented suburb just outside of Vancouver, BC. But we stood out like sore thumbs. We were one of the only two Chinese families in our elementary school. There was one Japanese family and one South Asian family at our elementary school. And at that time, and still today, but especially back then, racism was a big part of our reality.
Mm,
My older brother faced intense bullying, and
mhm,
I remember rocks being thrown at our house. And for me as
mm,
a child, I couldn't understand why people focus so much on differences because looking from the inside out, I didn't see differences. So I really didn't understand it. Um, but looking back, those experiences have really shaped how I see the world, and my intense desire to be open minded, and my belief that it's so important to listen to others because I really feel and see that the diversity of people and their stories is exactly what makes the world so beautiful. And I've learned that we are actually more alike than we are different.
mm. Well said, well said. And thank you for sharing that experience because, as you made mention, when it comes to us as minority individuals or racialized individuals, you have that exposure where you're like, oh, I'm the same like you folks. Like I have the same ambitions, but at a young age, figuring out, okay, maybe it is different. And
Mhm.
the fact that, oh my gosh, people are bothered by this difference, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, and I feel like as a kid, that could be a hard pill to swallow where you're like, oh, like I thought everybody just got along with everybody, right?
exactly. Like, I'm a nice person, I'm a nice kid, but for some reason, people don't like you, and you internalize that, like, what is wrong with me? Why? Um, and then, in within my own culture, not fitting in there either because I was too westernized. So
Mm,
yeah, very, very lost. And then, as I was going through school, I always wore glasses since I was 3 years old, and I had those thick Coke bottle lenses. And I was terrible at sports. Like I was just so clumsy. And um, I was that person that was picked last for teams, but I didn't fit the Asian stereotype of being good in math or playing piano. And I was just like, I don't fit in anywhere here. Uh,
mm,
but my siblings wore glasses too, but they did fine academically. And looking back, I realized that vision loss was a huge part of my struggles. And whereas I internalized it and I thought there was something actually wrong with me. So I became very, very, very shy. I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't speak up, I didn't want to draw attention to myself. So those were those early years that really shaped me.
mm. And it's so interesting. You're shy, you didn't want to talk, but you have so many good stories and so much amazing things to share. So I'm like, oh man, that's almost like such a great experience and perspective. And I want to add on to you were making mention of being Asian and then your vision loss. Let's add another layer. So having the gender layer as a woman as well, even putting that into your experience, how was that with sight loss and then having being a Asian individual?
Um, well, number one, so my brother is the oldest, so in our culture, boy rules, right?
Hmm.
I'm the second one. I'm the middle child. So, and I think many middle child feel the same way. We kind of feel like invisible. So that's another layer on
Yep.
there. And, you know, especially when you're a woman and you're Asian, you can't and don't speak up.
Mhm.
Um, you feel you don't have a voice, and you feel that your voice doesn't matter, and you're made to feel like your voice doesn't matter. Um, and you just have to just put your head down and work hard and just smile for the sake of smiling, even though you're so sad inside, or if you often get criticized. Um,
Mhm.
and and I don't know if it's, but it's I'll often get criticized being a woman, being Asian, like, oh, you know, you've gained weight or
Mhm.
you've lost weight, or everything that looks external rather than building on the internal positive. So there's lots of parts of you that get chipped away from the inside. Uh, and you don't even believe in your own abilities because they're based on what external things are. So I find that that extra layer was hard as well.
And you brought up such a good point. I could relate to you. I'm the middle child of my family too. And it's like, hey, everybody, I'm here, like, and it makes so much sense and then add in the factors of having an older brother, right? And it makes so
Mm-hmm.
much sense where the older child's heard, right?
Yes.
That one there, and then the youngest is treated like they're the youngest, right?
Oh
The
yeah,
baby of
yeah,
the crew, right?
yeah, yeah. That was the golden child.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're just kind of navigating. What about me? And then
Yes, yes.
having those other layers as well. So it's such a great perspective that you brought up that I would even realize like the family dynamic, right?
Exactly, exactly. And it still, we're all grown up now, but it still exists to this day.
Hmm.
It doesn't change.
No matter how old you're gonna get,
Yes,
you're always gonna feel that for sure.
yes, yes.
Uh,
But I realize with being the middle child, like I am the heart of the family, and
mm,
I'm proud to be the heart of the family because I do lead with my heart. Um, and I think that's a really powerful and positive trait and personality to have. And I wouldn't change that at this point. I'm happy to be the one that keeps everybody close, keeps everyone together, and leads and thinks with my heart.
of course, and that leads into my next question. And I remember I was having pre-meetup chat with you,
Right.
and I said to you, "You are Zen."
Thank
You
you.
I feel like usually on the Lens Living Diverse, I'm here, da, 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 I'm all hyped up, but I feel like when I'm speaking to you, it's just zen, it's just so relaxing.
Oh, thank you.
And it's so amazing speaking to you. I'm so calm, and that
Oh,
goes into your amazing social media presence. So,
mhm,
for the listeners, Anne has her proposing view,
mhm.
and I gotta say, I just love your content. I love the storytelling. What brought you into social media for you to start telling your story?
Well, social media was because of, my growing up and this my history. That was honestly the last place that I thought I ever would be. I was so shy and I didn't want to draw attention to myself. I just like to stay in the background. Um, but really, everything changed when I found myself housebound and bedridden for about 8 months due to chronic illness. I was diagnosed with a rare headache condition called new daily persistent headache, so NDPH. So basically, it's exactly what it is. It's a headache that just starts all of a sudden out of the blue and just doesn't end. So that was on January 1st, 2019, and I still have that headache to this day, and just living with it. But those first 8 months, I was isolated, depressed. I had been losing my vision, and I was really afraid of what the future held. And both my conditions, my eye condition is colon dystrophy, that's rare, and the headache condition, new daily persistent, is rare as well. So I was so lonely and sad, and I desperately wanted to find some kind of hope and connect with others like me who understood what I was going through. And I really wanted to find people that were thriving in some way because I was looking for that thread of hope. So when the pandemic hit, those feelings of isolation grew even stronger, but not just for me, but so many in the blind and visually impaired community, and others living with vision loss. And I had also seen how hard small businesses were struggling. And just that something in me just wanted to find some way to help. And so that's when I decided to go on social media. But I specifically chose Instagram because it's a visual medium. And I really wanted to challenge it. I wanted to challenge it to see how accessible I could make the content and inclusive I could, but while also supporting small businesses. And when I'm depressed and I'm sad, I still love to shop, right? So I started buying products from small businesses locally here, and then I would tag them in the posts, and then I would provide detailed alt text and image descriptions and meaningful captions, because I really wanted to make sure that no audience member was left behind, and not even for someone who like me relies on accessibility. And I wanted to show that the blind and visually impaired community, we are so valuable and we are loyal customers too, but we have purchasing power and influence. And so that's something that I really wanted. I wanted to bring those worlds together. And it just created this ripple effect where it was bridging the sighted community and the visually impaired community together. Um, so, and it also was starting to bring this awareness, education, and representation into the mix. And when I was doing my content, I really wanted to show that it's not hard to do alt text. It's not hard to do image descriptions, and it actually can be fun and easy. So that's what I was trying to show. And if I can do it, we can all do it. But the next layer of being on social media was the representation, and it became especially important to me when I had received a message from a 14-year-old girl. She's not living on this continent, but she said to me, "You're the first person that I've seen that looks like me using a white cane." And that message really hit me hard because I myself had never seen an Asian person using a white cane or openly living with vision loss. And, in our Asian culture, that disability is unspoken. It's something to hide or, quietly endure. So it made it more important for me to step out with my white cane, not just as my tool for independence, but for visibility. I wanted to be in everyday spaces, showing that vision loss isn't something to be ashamed of. And you never know who might be going through something similar. And seeing someone live openly with vision loss can give them the courage to feel like they're not alone. And social media has become more than just a platform. For me, it's a way to share. It's a way to share our stories, amplify others' voices, and create this community where everyone, regardless of their ability, is seen, valued, and heard.
Well said, well said. And it's a lot of great points that you were making mention with just incorporating social media. And I know it's this big stereotype that, oh, social media is a cesspool of just
Yeah.
wasted time and all this misinformation. But
Mm-hmm.
I really love how you made mention that you're bringing accessibility to our everyday aspects of life, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
even accessibility is just so key. Like and I think sometimes we have a misinterpretation when we look at advocacy, right?
Yes.
And with advocacy, sometimes we're like, oh, like let's look at transportation or let's look at a built environment, and that's what advocacy is about. But the amazing content that I see from you is that you're bringing advocacy in an everyday lifestyle type aspect, right? With
Hmm.
the different products you come across and the different adventures that you come across,
Yeah.
and I think it's a very relatable thing. So great example with that girl from a different continent,
Yes. Yes.
and that's amazing. And what are some of the products or even some of the adventures that you go on that really um are memorable for you, like something that comes to mind? Because I know they're probably all memorable.
Well, my recent adventure, when we talk about community, I've met so many amazing people through social media, and five of us women decided, you know what, let's do a girls' trip to New York City. It ended up being four of us because one got sick just before, but we all traveled on our own, through our where we lived. Myself coming from Canada and navigating the airlines and um, all the people we met, as we navigate along with our vision loss. And some of the girls are like, oh, people are staring. I'm like, let them stare. It's okay.
Mhm.
Because you know what? They're seeing that we are going out and we're doing this. And you never know who's watching you that is going through the same thing and thinking, I can't travel, or there are limitations and there are barriers, but that it's a mindset thing, and there are none. And from leaving the airport here to traveling to New York, um, I just asked for help, and people gave it, and they were so kind, um, and so helpful that it made my travel experience so incredible. The easiest part was navigating the airport, actually.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, yeah, I was from curbside to the gate. I was well taken care of. Um, I wore my sunflower lanyard as well, and everyone was so good. Flight attendants were incredible, helping me. When I came home, I was in the little Air Canada golf cart, and they took me through customs, and like they took me through like the sideway where I don't have to go through with lots of other people. So it was very calm. It was actually very relaxing. And then they helped me find my baggage. And then they got me to the curbside where my partner could pick me up. And I thought this was the best experience.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to share those experiences to let other people know that don't don't be afraid, don't feel daunted by it. Like you can do it, and you can do it well, and you can thrive, and you can have fun. And so I'm currently working on a piece actually with Flight Center about top 5 tips for traveling for visually impaired
Oh.
people. And so I've been able to use a lot of, even Ben from you, like the tips, and putting those tips into practice and testing them out and finding, yes, it's so good. And people are becoming more and more aware of our needs and accessibility. And, we still have ways to go, of course, but so much progress has been made. And it's incredible. And I found in New York, we had the most amazing people. We were at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We had an accessible touch tour. So we were in the Egyptian section, and we got to touch the mummies and the
Wow.
tombs and everything. And it was so incredible. And then afterwards, she said, oh, where would you like to go? And we said, oh, we'll go to the gift shop. And the girl heard us talking about, I don't know, magnets or something. And she's like, wow, we have a whole wall. And she literally, from that point on, gave us a tour of the whole gift area, describing the magnets,
Wow.
what they look like. And then she asked, what would you like to look at next? And we said, oh, Christmas ornaments. So she took us there, and she let us hold them, touch them, um, and helped us all along throughout the store, anything else that we were needing. And um, this is the kind of um, amazing people that we've come across. But it shows that people care, and they want to make your experience positive. And even through social media, when I'm doing content, it's really about clear communication and clear language. And when
Mhm.
we work on those, we can help so many people along the way. The group of us, we have all varying levels of sight loss, from totally blind to some with low vision. And we were all navigating the space together, um, laughing at the same time about all of our
Mm.
similarities and differences, but really enjoying that time together. And, there's other people in the museum, and they see our group, but then they also know now that there is accessibility available for tours like this. And you just have to, if you might not find it on the website, call and ask, because we were able to call and ask and then get free tickets as well.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
More
you never
reasons.
know, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
incredible, and
yeah.
it's so powerful. And I gotta ask, you made mention sunflower landlord.
Lanyard,
What is
yes.
that?
So that's actually a globally recognized program. It's the Hidden Disabilities Program. And if you're at Pearson Airport, you can get it for free. I got mine free at YVR. So you just have to, you can go on their website, but if you go to customer service and you ask for the sunflower lanyard, they'll give it to you and it's free. So once you wear it around your neck, all the airport staff and all the airline staff, they recognize that that's a global program, that you have a hidden disability of some sort, one, multiple. Nobody's asking you what you have, but then they know to take their time with you, that you might need um, some assistance. They can ask if you would like any assistance. You're free to say yes or no. And they, especially going through security, is so nerve wracking. And you feel so rushed, like you got to throw your stuff into this bin and take off all your stuff. But they will take the time and give you the time so that you can get through security. So it made a world of difference. And actually, through their website, I purchased like the sunflower lanyard luggage strap. So I have it on my luggage, I have it on my
Wow.
backpacks, like to just show. And I had one person on the airplane in Vancouver ask me, "Oh, that's so pretty. You have the sunflower, this strap on your bag, so it's easy to identify." And I go, "No, actually, it's a globally recognized program." And I explained to her, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that." But in these conversations, you build that education and awareness, because then she knew other people that who could benefit from it, and that she could now pass that information on.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm learning so much from you as well. And I feel like I'm gonna steal you from for another episode in case we're talking about travel. So,
Yes, yes.
and expect to be called on. So watch out.
Okay.
I'll be knocking on your social media door.
Absolutely.
Just love how powerful traveling is. And I really love the example of getting women with different levels of vision. And by the way, they were all looking at you because you're beautiful, powerful women traveling. So that's the reason why, if anybody's looking at you guys, right?
Yep, yep. And
Exactly.
and when do you see it? When you see three
Mm.
ladies walking side by side, swinging their canes, and they're like laughing and have a good time, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that in itself is so powerful.
Yeah, and I feel like it's infectious as well.
Yes,
It
yes.
is very infectious where, okay, you look over, someone's having a good time, you look over here, someone's having a good time. And even for the mindset, although we already know the secret of living with low vision and blindness, that is it's not the worst thing in the world. People look over and they're like, oh, even people with canes are having fun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe I shouldn't have that mindset of like gloom and doom and gray, right?
Yeah.
So, nah, that's a great impact for sure.
There was one, we were walking along, and there was we'd hear one person behind us going, "Oh, that would be the worst thing ever if I lost my sight." Or no, that would be my biggest fear. And in my head, I was like, you know what? The biggest fear is you should be afraid of just me, right? It's like, not my, I'm not losing your vision. You should be afraid of me.
Mhm. Especially speaking out loud like that,
Yeah.
speaking out of terms. I totally get where you're coming from. And something that I just find is amazing. theme and a pattern. Every time I talk to you, even on this episode, even when I'm checking out your social media, is storytelling and
Yes.
the fact of resiliency.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering for yourself, because I love stories. I love hearing people's stories. Every time we do the Lens Living Diverse, I'm like, yes, it's like renting a textbook.
Yeah.
Why is storytelling so important to you?
Um, for me, storytelling, is at the heart of everything I do. And I really feel it's how you make experiences relatable, and then while also educating and connecting the audience. Storytelling is that thread that connects us all. It's that bridge between my world and the audiences, and showing that our experiences are relatable and that we're more alike than we are different. And it's that thread of resilience. Um, not only to share the good stuff, but also the struggles, because our life challenges, that those are actually the stepping stones towards growth. Like, that's where it is, right there. And when you're honest and you're vulnerable in your storytelling, you you show others to embrace their own journeys. And I think, that's where we can just humanize all of our experiences. It allows the audience or people to step into my shoes or someone else's shoes, so that we can really, foster empathy and understanding. And it can be so transformative. I know it's how I've been able to reclaim my own narrative and turn those challenges into opportunities. Um, and it's a way we can offer hope, connect, build community, and really break down those barriers. And every story, adds a new layer to that whole understanding of what blindness and identity is, because people don't understand, like, blindness is a spectrum, but we need to keep educating and bringing that message across, that uh, someone with two people with RP don't have the same experience.
Mhm.
They're different. And that's definitely something that I witnessed and felt as these women all gathering together with our different layers of blindness. And we had one person who had ushers who were deafblind too. So understanding that person's challenges and learning to work together, um, so that we could all have this amazing time together.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like when you were making mention, when you do look at disability and more specifically sight loss, having that opportunity to individualize people's experiences through storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And then even at the same time, the aspect of adding culture on there, adding gender on there, adding family dynamic, and it makes such a beautiful mix, a beautiful
Yes.
recipe on a wonderful story. And something even for my own, like me getting into social media. I do a little bit of stand-up comedy, which um, it incorporates storytelling as well as
Yeah.
similar to yourself, I do some public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Even for myself and probably listeners out there, the hesitancy of storytelling, especially living with um, low vision culture, where even what you were making mention, we're told not to say too much,
Yes. Yes.
not to show your hand too much, keep it secret, keep it within the family.
Mm-hmm.
How do you uh, go against that push of just being so secretive?
Um, I think seeing the effect of the authenticity, and the genuineness that comes across, that's where you can make a difference. If you can reach out and touch someone's heart in some way to help them, I think that is the greatest thing you can do. There's lots of things that in the beginning, I felt I didn't want to share, but I realized it's by opening up and sharing, um, that is where the greatest connections happened, because then someone would come and say, I feel that way too. And you can talk about it. You can have conversations about it. And each one doesn't have to feel like they're isolated alone in what they're going through, because we are all feeling so many of the same things. And it's nice when we can share our frustrations, our journey, our highs and lows, and normalize these things, because we are, same in so many ways.
And it's so true. It's so true. Like seeing someone else express themselves, seeing someone else's perspective, and it does motivate others to be like, hey, you know what? I got a story. Let me formulate this story. Let me craft this amazing story to tell the world. So, do
Yes.
you have any recommendations on tools or resources that helped you craft your story that you tell on social media?
Um, well, the biggest thing that I do through social media is using storytelling in my captions. Using the clear communication language there, and expressing emotion through my words in my captions. And then when I'm creating the videos itself, um, using the camera as the storytelling part. Like if I'm aiming it towards my cane, I want my cane view, or I'll be the honestly passenger princess when my husband's driving. So I'll stick my phone camera out the skylight of the car, so that you could see the clouds, because I love clouds and seeing that, and just using the camera lens and the eyes to show another view. And then when I do add music to my videos, I specifically look for audio tracks that relate to the emotion and the tone of the feeling that I want to convey. So they're all layers that are kind of built in to the content that I do. And then when I do my image descriptions, it won't be kind of boring. I'll make a little story of it sometimes. Sometimes I'll throw in something witty and see if people are paying attention.
Can you give us examples? Anything witty that you
um,
threw in? Not to put you on the
uh,
spot, like
yeah, I
describing something
yeah.
else. So it's like something else. It's like this is
Describing
me.
something else, like I can think of one person that I follow, but she's a wheelchair user, and she talked about how the spokes on her wheels were decorative, and her partner had a smirky smile or something, that brings a little bit more extra context to what the image is, rather than just straight like woman in a wheelchair, in a park, but giving more of a context and story into it.
And I totally agree. Bringing that kind of that charisma, that just like you said, wittiness, where I know when I do a presentation and I have to do the self-description, I'm like, yeah, I don't know the
Yeah.
color, but it's a really nice shirt.
Yes, exactly.
So,
It's
something like
perfect.
that, right? So
Yes.
that's what I just love about storytelling and the fact that you can make it your own.
What I also love about storytelling is that, not only telling story, but that you can actually move people to action. And that's something like that I'm trying to incorporate into my storytelling, that I'm not only telling a story or telling a situation, but I want to get them so emotionally involved and feel compassion that they themselves are then moved to action.
That's making an impact for sure. And I just love how storytelling could go so far, even as equal as with the whole facts and information and knowledge mobilization. I feel that storytelling can be incorporated into those different aspects, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So the one thing I gotta ask,
Mhm.
and I definitely, when I first saw your social media and first heard of you, where did you get the name? Because it's so clever. I'm like, oh man, I should have came up with something like that. So where did you get that name, man?
um, Well, I had written a little poem, I guess, how purpose and view came into view. And I'll just read it out here. It says, "My vision loss is a journey that, although genetic in nature and an outcome of some level of blindness, I am the author of my own narrative. I can change my own perspective to aspire to find my purpose in view." So it's really the belief that even with limited physical sight, we all have a unique vision for our lives. And it's reflecting my journey of finding purpose beyond what the eyes can see. It's looking inward and forward, living intentionally, embracing my own story, and then helping others find their own purpose, regardless of the barriers they face. Because I would love to see people live the best version of their lives. Whatever it is, it's the best version of their own life.
That's so well said. And it definitely incorporates all those different aspects in that name. And
Mm-hmm.
it just embodies, it catches the person's eye, no pun intended, but
Yes, yes.
yeah, definitely with that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I think I've definitely, you know, with vision loss and with everything that's happened, I've more me than I ever was. So that little girl who was shy, clumsy, afraid, didn't feel like she fit in. I that those are actually my superpowers. So I am
Mm,
exactly who I am today. I'm proud of it because of all of that. Um, it's led me to embrace all of those because they're what have brought me into my purpose today. And yeah, I feel so, so free now, living the life that I was meant to live. Um, yeah, with vision loss and everything, like I am more happier
mm,
now than I ever was.
mm. And I just love to hear. And it's almost a journey within this podcast where at the beginning we heard what you were making mention as just like you said, a girl with
Mm-hmm.
sight loss and who was trying to navigate the world as an individual of Asian descent as well and trying to figure out your culture. And then the fact that you're utilizing all these different identities and then making it your own. So it's almost like you you internalize, or I don't even know the right words. I definitely
Yeah,
edit this, but
yeah.
you who would say you I want to
I've
say you
definitely come into the person that I was meant to be for sure. And
yes.
that's something I want anyone listening or younger selves to know that in your mind you might feel that these are barriers, but they're going to give you the springboard to be everything that you actually are already. So whatever all these things, they're part of you and your unique identity. And we all have an amazing place in this world. Own it and live in it, and embrace it. Don't think to try to be like anyone else or that you're not like so and so. Absolutely not. You have your place in this world, and that you are your own superpower.
I love it. I love it. And I feel like let's add that you're a mind reader because I was going into my next question, but I'm gonna kind of format it as this. Do you have any last pieces of advice for anybody who has experienced similar circumstances as you, or just even in general, anybody who wants to get into social media, anybody who has these different intersectionalities and feel that they want their stories to be heard? Any last
Mm.
pieces of advice?
Um, my advice is to embrace all the parts of your journey. So as we talked about, like every single aspect, every single part of you, embrace it all. And that includes the sadness, the frustration, the highs, the lows, and even when it feels so overwhelming. And I always say, like when your feelings at the bottom That's the bottom. That's all there is to go. So the next level is leveling up now. So, embrace all of that, but just take it one step at a time and know that your story matters. It's your story. You matter, and you are important and valuable. And a big thing for me to get through that was seeking out community. A lot of times us living with vision loss, there isn't anyone around us locally or anywhere that is going through or going to. So reaching out through social media was the biggest change for me, finding like-minded people, connecting, having people who understand and support you. That is so invaluable. And don't ever be afraid to advocate for yourself and for your needs, and don't be afraid to ask for help. More often than not, people will be there to help you and support you. And those that are not, move on. You don't need to spend more energy on that.
Mm-hmm.
And also give yourself grace in those moments of struggle. And remember that your identity and your abilities go far beyond your limitations. You are truly capable of writing your own story. Every page is a page, and it can be a chapter, and you can just start over. And you can create that life. You can have a life of purpose, of joy, and of impact.
Wonderful pieces of advice. And uh, honestly, I just coming out of this episode, I'm getting motivated. I'm like, okay, I want to start telling my
Yeah.
story through social media and just even in general. So
Yes.
thank you so much for that piece of advice.
And I can't wait to hear more of your story, because you know what? There are so many people listening and waiting, and they're waiting for that connection where they can hear.
Thank you so much. And last thing, we've been talking about social media this whole episode. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Purpose in View. And I do have TikTok, but I really don't use it too much. And I do have Facebook. But Purpose in View on Instagram is the best way. And I'll also have a website. It's purposeinview.com. So that's where you can also connect with me there, and any other podcast episodes that I've been on. If you want to listen to more, I have my TEDx that's on YouTube. So that's under Blind Sighted Anne Mok. And I was part of anthology with a group of 13 women where we shared our stories. So it was in a book called Become Empowered that you can get on Amazon. But yeah, that's how you can find me. And I am always open to conversations and connecting with others. Don't be afraid to reach out. And for anyone out there, don't be afraid to share your story. Go out there and live with purpose.
Wonderful, wonderful. So definitely, listeners, check that out and check out the amazing storytelling, Purpose in View. And once again, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. I feel enlightened and I feel like I learned so much. And I hope that the audience and listeners have learned as well. So once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you for having me here.
Not a problem. And like I said, we're going to steal you for another episode.
Okay. I'm
Have,
excited to talk about it. If there's been so much good stuff, and excited to share it.
of course. All right. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Lens Living Diverse. If you like today's episode and want to listen to previous episodes, you could go to wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. If you want to know more about our diversity and inclusion initiatives, you can visit us at www.cnib.ca and go to the About section of our website, where you can find We Are CNIB. Lastly, if you have any ideas for the show, you could email us at advocacy@cnib.ca. Once again, advocacy@cnib.ca.
Once again, thank you for listening to The Lens Living Diverse. I was your host, Ben. Peace.